Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Tray. Let's get a look at the August sales of Flesh and Blood off of TCG Player. The first generation boxes, Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, and Crucible of War. They're unlimited versions, of course, because the first edition versions are too expensive and don't sell often enough to be interesting. But what we see with the unlimited versions of the boxes is they just continue to slowly sell. People continue to gobble them up. The prices are pretty level. I mean, Crucible of War looks to have come up about $10 over the course of the month. The interesting thing why this line ends here, the yellow line for Crucible of War, is that for the last 8 days of the month, no boxes sold. It is very weird, so the line just ends there. But otherwise, people just keep consuming these, and one day they're going to dry up, the supply is going to tighten, and the price is going to start rising. So the second generation boxes, Monarch, Tales of Aria, and Everfest now. These are all the first edition ones. Of course, Monarch has come down to that 1 to 110 kind of range in about the last month. You could actually get it, I think I saw it as low as 104 at some point. But again, sales very, very consistent. And of course, the reason that this Everfest line is so crazy high is because I actually caught the release of the product here with this data set. So these other two products, Monarch and Tales of Aria, were released before I started recording these data, so I don't have the giant spike of people buying it right as it comes out. Now, if we take a look at Monarch First Edition versus Monarch Unlimited, First Edition surpassed Unlimited in sales a couple of months back, and very flat prices, though First Edition continues to increase its lead on the Unlimited Edition. Now, kind of the same story here with Tales of Aria. The lead of the First Edition boxes continues to increase, even though the price is about $20 higher. And, seeing that from Monarch and from Tales of Aria, it really shows you that people are willing to pay that extra money, either investors for the long term or people looking for the cold foils, one or the other. But they're willing to pay that extra money. Now, one of the more interesting things we've been wanting to follow for the last couple of months is Uprising versus Everfest, to see how well Uprising is performing now that we're into Fab 2.0, now that the fallout from the Monarch First Edition print run release is fully realized. And I'll move this to the days since release timescale so we can see them neck and neck at the same time in their life cycle. And so, you might be tempted to think that the reason that the Uprising blue line is so much lower than the Everfest red line is because all of the investors are gone. And of course, you can see that there's about a 1,200 box difference by release date between these two products. And yeah, I would say that a lot of that probably is the investors getting scared away. Investors who were still interested in Flesh and Blood when Everfest came out, and then the Monarch First Edition print run numbers hit, everyone got spooked and ran away. And that affected the pre-sales of Uprising. I would agree that's part of this effect. But the interesting thing is, I went and I looked at these exact data points. So this one at the very end here of Uprising, and then 30 days prior to that, and the difference in number of boxes sold. And then I took that same time span on this Everfest line. And the difference is in that last 30 days up to here during Everfest's life cycle, it sold 470 boxes. Uprising only sold 280. And so while your eyeball may be telling you that, oh, these lines are about the same slope in this area here, the Everfest one is actually more vertical. It was selling at a faster pace, not quite twice the pace, but maybe 1.75 times the pace. And so Everfest was still outselling at the same point in its life cycle where Uprising is now. And so it kind of says something about Uprising. I guess we could still debate what it says, but I think it says that the product just isn't as popular. And yes, the investors are mostly gone. They'll be back eventually, but even at the same price point, it's not selling as quickly as Everfest was. And I think that's really the interesting thing to take away this month. I'm not quite ready to make any bold claims about what that means for the long term for Flesh and Blood. I think there's still a lot of Fab 2.0 stuff that has been teased and is not here yet. And like I said, one day the investors will come back. They'll start buying this stuff up in droves at higher prices. But now is the time. If you think any outcome other than LSS going bankrupt and the game folding is going to happen, now is the time you should be buying these boxes, all of these boxes, and putting them back while everyone else is scared out of the market. One last thing, we'll take a look real quick. History Pack Volume 1. It sold a measly 70 boxes this month, which, to put it in perspective, Monarch First Edition sold 80 boxes this month. So Monarch First is still outselling even History Pack 1. But of course, History Pack Volume 1 is kind of a weird product designed for specific segments of the market. So I don't really think that's a damning assessment of the product itself. It's just a different type of product. So guys, let me know what you think. I'm going to keep doing this every month for a while longer, as long as it remains interesting. I think it's neat to follow this and see how the market for Flesh and Blood is moving, how it's kind of calmed down over the last few months. And it'll especially be interesting when we get into the next set's release, see where it falls between that kind of Everfest line and that Uprising line, and see if hopefully it can kind of recapture that level of excitement that Everfest had back in February. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot, everyone.